Nigel Farage, Reform UK leader. We're expecting him in Scotland tomorrow, where he's expected to unveil Reform UK's slate of candidates for the Holyrood election
Can't
in
wait.
May.
Can't wait.
So I believe Malcolm Offord said last week that around 40% of them are former members of the Conservative Party. It obviously begs the question as to who the other 60% are. um, so I'll be going along to that for the Daily Record. Some of your colleagues from the
Yep.
Daily Express will be there. And
Waving your union flag and cheering them on.
I couldn't possibly comment on that, Smith.
so obviously Mr Farage never short of a comment or two when he's with the Scottish press. So we'll see what he says there. But one thing I wanted to talk about a bit was, in previous episodes that I've been on at Planet Holyrood, we've really just talked about the rise of reform in the polls, but been a little bit of a wobble there recently, Dougie, and what would you blame on that for?
I think partly a couple of things. I think their support was always going to stall a bit. I spoke to Professor James Mitchell at Edinburgh University about this a few times, and he's predicted this all along. And I think part of that is because they don't have any policies yet. No one actually knows. Right now, they remain very much a protest vote without any real meat to the bones. I think another problem Reform have got, and Chris, you actually alluded to it there, 40% of their candidates are former Tories.
I think that is a problem for them.
Is this just, the Tory party in a different guise?
I've said this before in here, but I think when they had that week when they unveiled in a kind of row, Suella Braverman, Robert Jenrick, and a load of like reheated former Tories of the last, Sunak and Truss administrations, I just don't think that was a particularly great look.
Yeah, and
I really don't.
One of the issues the Tories have faced, and I think Labour are going to face it at the other side, I think we're going to maybe discuss that in a few minutes, but is that by trying to outright reform, people are saying, well, there's no point in trying to be reformed because people just vote for the real thing. But now it feels a bit like, well, you probably could just vote for the Tories because reform are just Tory light as well. They're just, and I don't think that is a great look for them. I think they need some policies as well to really push in the polls. I would say as well, it is just two polls that have shown them kind of dropping back a bit. It's a bit early to be kind of talking about, the reform fall off. I still think they're going to do really well in this election. I think Reform's biggest problem will be getting their vote out, actually, because I think they're attracting the kind of people that don't normally vote or feel really disillusioned with politics. And I think ultimately when it comes to, the process of getting up in the morning and dragging yourself to the polling station, I think a lot of these people who are disillusioned might think, well, what's the point if Reform aren't going to win it? But I just think now they probably need a burst of energy, and they'll be hoping tomorrow, manifesto candidates that will give them that burst of energy. You've kind of fallen out of the headlines a bit. There's been a lot more focus at the other side of the spectrum on the Greens, especially down south. And I think the Scottish Greens are maybe getting a wee bit of a knock-on effect in that. I still expect them to do well, but I can't see them growing much more in the polls from here out, if I'm being honest.
Mark, who's the beneficiary of a reform wobble? Is this finally a moment for Labour to kind of come back in the conversation? Or is it really just another advantage for John Swinney with a split union vote?
Another advantage. There's no doubt that when people really look at reform and say what they're going to do, for example, to the NHS, what they're going to do to your public services, what they're going to do to trade union rights, when people start to look at all that, they realise that what they are is just the Tories but turbocharged. Now, what self-respecting working class voter is going to vote for a Thatcherite party who's even more extreme than Thatcher?